Hello there, you're welcome to the only show that brings you happenings in the world of diplomacy and international relations. This is where we talk about engagements between countries at the bilateral and multilateral levels. Anything that has to do with this space, we are your number one go-to place. We have the experts who share their experts' opinion on the various subjects emanating from different quarters. Today is one of such days where we are engaging an expert because we have some topical issues that needs to be addressed, and these are trending issues. One will be the deportation of some undocumented migrants, an action carried out by the United States President Mr. Donald Trump, which Ghanaians or some Ghanaians are affected around this move or on the back of this move. Another will be the freezing of the United States Agency for International Development, which is USAID, another action carried out by the President of America, Donald Trump. We are going to talk about the repercussions or the impact of these actions by the United States of America, the President. This is also all about making America great again and also putting America first. People have expressed different views when it comes to perspectives around these actions carried out by the United States of America, the President Donald Trump. Some are of the view that making America great again is a good move because this is in the interest of America. America must do what is right for America. Another regarding the freezing of the United States Agency for International Development, which is USAID. USAID is one of the biggest donors when it comes to funding most projects all over the world. America has every right to audit the taxpayers' money. Is it really doing what it should do? Is this money yielding any dividends when it comes to the people of America? With me today to help us look at these two topical issues is my former lecturer. I'm excited to be back to where it all started. I'm talking about GIMPA. I have Dr. Samuel Yao Apia Mafu, senior lecturer at the Department of Public Management and International Relations. Thank you so much for joining us on Diplomatic Affairs. How are you?
Very fine.
It's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Absolutely.
Since we bumped into each other.
It's true.
Right.
That will be somewhere around, I think, 2002.
You are absolutely right. Now, we have two major issues that we want to speak to. We are looking for the experts to do justice to these topical issues. Usually it is the best because we want to move away from the politicians, points of view or perspectives, and also collect the experts' opinion or views around some of these subjects. And we thought, let's come to your office and then speak to you about this. First, let's start with home, where home is directly affected. Let's talk about the move by the U.S. President Donald Trump in making America great again has embarked on a campaign to sanitize the American system. What are we to expect? Ghana is greatly affected here. In all, what does this even mean?
Thank you for the question. And I think that Donald Trump is given the opportunity to lead the American people. He's been in power before, and this is the second time he's coming. So there is nothing wrong with the mandate given to him to pursue largely as to make America great. But a palpable number, remember, Donald Trump is actually pandering to the Republican agenda in American politics. How the Republicans see the world affair, in fact, the international system, is quite also different from how the Democrats see the international system. The Democrats see the international system in the light of what the liberal democracy, where they believe in institutions of states, and believe in the fact that the individual is a center of also a concern, and does not necessarily pander to the state specifics, and saying that doesn't mean that the states do not have their authority. That doesn't mean that the state cannot do what they want to do. But normally it also welcomes the liberal principles that governs the international system, where institutions are given the opportunity to kind of, play or act in the international system. I would want to say this clearly, that Donald Trump was given a mandate just recently in the elections. He won massively. And per that mandate, it gives him the opportunity to go on and make the American great as it is. Because to him, the Republican agenda is that America is the policeman of the world. So therefore, what they seek to do is to ensure wherever they are, their foreign policy agenda is purely on a realist position. To them, the state is central authority. The state, what needs to happen to the state is paramount than any other. So whilst he's in there, whatever he's doing is geared towards lifting American as a state. Does not see the other side of it. It sounds a little bit difficult. It sounds a little bit, unacceptable, so to speak, for the majority of us in the world today. And when we look at the entire numbers in terms of the world, the numbers of what countries, we have almost 93 to 95 countries around the world. America is a leader. Right away from, if we want to really look at it deeper, it's a leader of the world. They were part and parcel of the creation of the United Nations. And still a leader because the only unipolar power in the world today. So if America cough, it has something to do with other people. If America want to, excuse me to use the word, want to wee anywhere, it has something to do with others. So therefore, it is only important for us to quickly look at its role in the international system and not to renege on its role to the international, because now American state does not see any other state apart from the American state, and that is the way he is now governing. And it has a clear-cut impact on the whole of the world. And for those of us on the continent of Africa, we are not exception. And so if you want me to really speak to that, this is exactly the first line of action that probably I would present. But further, we can also say that now when he came, it has always been a problem with regard to the American immigration system. The Democrats, having ruled for or governed for 8 years, believe in the fact that America is a nation of immigrants. Obama said it in 2009. Biden in a way also throwing that argument that yes, it is. They are a nation of immigrants. When they moved in and wherever they are today, that system has not worked out well for the Americans, because now I would say that the borders to the south has been easier because it lets in people from the Central America. It also lets in those who are in South America itself. So, and the question here is, all those individuals who are trooping in there, chances are that some of them are political refugees. Some of them economic refugees. Some of them are pure, on the issues of economic, where they help America, particularly those from Mexico. They help America in picking grapes. They help America in picking tomato, onions, and all that cotton and the lives that they do. So they are there as jobs for them, because probably wherever they are coming from, the jobs might not be necessarily there. So they do find the opportunities here. And as human beings as we are, and logic as we are, we want to migrate to areas where we can actually make ends meet. So in effect, one cannot blame them from coming. But then I think the issue here is that we need to be very dispassionate in looking at the arguments being presented by Trump. The point is that we want you to be regulated in coming into this country, not to be haphazardly entering into our borders and going. That meant that it must come from the two of them, two of us, those who are coming in and those who are here. Government must start governing. So they must fix their immigration system. And the immigration system, seriously speaking, over the years has not been fixed. It has been, political football. They mention it, we will do it, we don't do it. This one comes, he says what they want to say. So now that he had actually taken over, a palpable number of what the Republicans are of the view that the best alternative in regulating the thing is to deport all those people who are, immigrants, who have gone in there, whether it's economic, whether whatever you are, we deport you, go back to your wherever you come from. And when you come, probably then they streamline, they will start their process. But what it is now is that he wants to deport all those people. And in fact, it is believed there are over 20 million people. Because if you look at Africa, you look at all the world, you know, and those from South America, over 20, in fact, 15 to 20 in other, you know, literature is talking about 15 to 20 million people who are in the system, clogging the system, and making it very difficult for what the American system to operate. So to me, even though coming from a developing world, I do see the problem that they are facing economically, the pressure on their socio-economic, you know, systems, their hospitals, their recreational facilities, schools, what have you. Even though these individuals who are coming in do pay taxes, because the system is such that I've lived in the States. I've lived there for over 15 years. I live in Florida. So therefore, I understand how the tax system operates.
In making America great again,
Yeah.
in seeking the interest of America, in going all out for the American people, there is nothing wrong with seeking one's interest and doing what one feels is right for themselves or for them. I believe it is in order. But what will this also cost America in towing this trajectory? What will it cost America?
Okay.
You talked about America being a superpower. You talked about America being a global police. You talked about America being an authority, unquestionable authority when it comes to world affairs and international system. Let's talk about what it also would cost them. What does it cost them?
There are a couple of things I just want to make clear. Remember, it has the authority in the world, as I did mention earlier. And as the only global power, the unipolar power today in terms of global dominance, America trades with the entire world. Yes.
Are we still in a unipolar system?
I should say that because we are no longer
a unipolar system.
Yes, it used to be bipolar, but now it is unipolar because it possesses all the power. Russia, you know, crumbled in around the 1990. And so if you are looking for the Soviet Union is what I mean. And if you are looking at the only powerful force in the world today, right, is the United States of America. Yeah. I mean, in terms of its GDP, we can talk about it. It's in trillions. Even though we talk about the new sheriff in town, that is China. I will come there in a while. But let me just speak a little bit for people to understand, talking about the global hegemony, the power base of the world. And it is the United States. It has that power. And when it, like I said, when it coughs, other people have to listen.
The world catches cold. The world catches cold when America sneezes.
Now, if you look at the immigration system, for us to be very clear on it, a number of people, remember I did say that it's a nation of immigrants. A number of people move from their various countries through migration and go there. What I've been battling mentally is that you don't get to the United States if you come from, let's say, my end here. You go to rigorous scrutiny. Okay? It could be that you needed a visa to go and visit. The problem is that when people go, their returning has always been the problem when they go into the system. So for them to come back to their original places, some of them don't come. Some of them remain. Others have been there over the years. In fact, like I said, I went to school. So stay there for 15 years after school and then continue to look for one or two jobs and then come back. People believe that it would be better for me to stay in the developed world like the United States to make the money rather than coming back to the developing world like where I moved from. So there are so many permutations why people move. So we can talk about the issues of the pull factors and then the push factors. The pull factors are the things that attract us, because when you are in your various countries, what you do see is that, so America, oh, the land is very good.
The American dream.
American dream. I can get anything that I want to do. I work small and then I make money. And when I bring the dollar, in Ghana, we term it otupaye or whatever they call it. It means that when I come, I can change the money and make more money. So as a basis of that, people want to go and taste it.
What will it cost America?
What will cost America is in this. Is in this. One, human resource, in a way, it will cost them, because majority of what their human resource. Remember, the visas for the HI and H2 are now suspended in a way. So the human resource base, go to the Silicon Valleys, go to, and just recent that I heard that Trump was saying that anybody that has school up to the college level and then also high school level, they should be given green cards. And to them, they are saying that now they have to give them that. Why do you think they are doing that? The essence is that they've seen the importance of most of these individuals who came from outside to do things. Obama came from outside, even though he is an American, but he came from outside. Majority, even Donald Trump himself, when we trace his ancestry, from Ireland, majority of the people who have performed excellently in American, system, it could be whether they are in sports, it could be whether they are in entertainment, it could be whether in any other sector of their economy, you do find people, immigrants, doing the job for them. Okay, so here it will cost them that. Now, the second thing is that the global dominance I'm talking about, it is also going to cost them, because now others are saying, no longer saying make America great, but rather make China great. Why do you think a palpable number within the population are saying that make the China great? Because an avenue seems to have been created. Remember, I don't want to veer because we'll talk about that part, but now Chinese are now a vacuum, power vacuum has been created to the extent that American dominance, because you are pushing people away.
Is that now likely to reduce?
Absolutely. So people are now looking at it and saying, okay, what next? Well, it would be better I go to other places rather than being in America. Do you see the point now? So they will move bag and baggage to other places, particularly in places like Dubai, in the East, China. Majority of all the people will move, and even in Europe. So here you are, the cream that was supposed to have actually been permitted to come and support the economy. Could you believe? Let me just give you a simple another example. Those from Mexico who are supposed to crisscross and come here and come and be working on the farms and tomatoes and what have you, those individuals have now been moved back and they cannot come in. They are in a hiding. And now there's a policy that says that they should come out. And when they come out, the ICE, which has been tasked to ransack and deport them, are in action. We've seen it on internet where people are being tased with taser guns. A whole lot of other permutations are going on. So in this case, who will want to be in such places? They will not be. So in effect, it will affect them economically. And now in the global dominance in terms of power base, a vacuum has been created and other people will feel it, particularly China.
When America sneezes, the world catches cold.
That's right.
The whole world is catching cold, a terrible cold.
Okay.
The whole world is catching a terrible cold. Now, the question is, how does this issue get resolved?
Okay.
It is an opportunity for other countries to fill the gap.
Okay.
When they do, let's talk about South-South cooperation, and especially with the deportation, for instance, this affects the whole world. Ghana is also one of the countries affected because we have some over 150 Ghanaians who do not have the requisite documents to reside in the United States. Therefore, they are also
going to be repatriated.
Exactly, repatriated. How does this also affect the South-South cooperation? Is it a wake-up call for the South-South cooperation?
That one is a sit, but let me just go a little bit and chip in before come back to the South-South cooperation argument. It is imperative for us to recognize that the International Criminal Court, which is actually operating from the Rome Statute, the Rome Statutes of 2002, and under the Rome Statute, I think Article 7, Clause 1D, state clearly that it makes repatriation, sending people, yanking them from their kids and their mothers and what have you, irrespective of whatever they are in your country, and moving them off and repatriating them is a crime against humanity. And so therefore, if the Rome Statute, of which
a violation of
international law. So in that the international law that you, the American people, particularly American, is based in the world, see to it that every one of us who are part and parcel of the global system obey the international law. Here, you are more or less violating that law. Who is then now going to be the final arbiter to ensure that other people doing same will be what? Catered for. You see the problem here. Again, let me bore you further. Within the same structure, in fact, there's a protocol of 1967 protocol and 1951, Convention of Refugees. These two major documents have been captured into the American Constitution, in fact, by Congress, and regularizing it in 1980. These major people that are being kicked out of America, they are not listening to anything. How the ICE is doing it, they don't care talking to you as a refugee, or he came there under political issue, refugee, or economic refugee, or whatever refugee. And these refugees are there and you are now sending them back. It's a clear violation of those international laws. And so here you are, American global dominance and its power is actually waning. And it's pandering to other people, particularly China, in believing that they will pursue that properly and take over the Chinese. Some of the diplomats have argued that to them, hey, they are not going to be like a leader of the world as it is. But seriously speaking, they've made that argument in close quarters. And it is even believed by Marco Rubio, who is the state, State Department,
America.
The secretary of the State Department. Marco Rubio had made that argument before. And that now the CCP, which is the Chinese Communist Party, and its power in the world, in the global world, is so powerful now. As a result of this, and now everyone in the world, particularly, even it is also believed, recently I saw, in reading through the things, I saw that Pope Francis made that argument. Vance, the vice president of the United States, is a pure Catholic, and he's coming up with all kinds of flimsy, excuses to that effect. But the question here is that you violate international law, and you are doing it and pandering it to only you and your base, and not realizing that your actions have implications. And these implications is on what? The global south. China is in the global south. The South-South cooperation you're talking about. China, India, Brazil, and the likes. So critically, majority of people are looking at it. Now you come in. There are so many things I don't want to connect to bring some kind of a convolution of problems. But my idea here is that look at what is even happening in Gaza. That we are taking over Gaza.
Taking territories.
How do you
how legal is that?
That is the point. So under the international, we have rules. And law? Okay, so here you are. It goes back to the international system I was speaking to, where the realists do not see. To them, no. It's the state first. What the state demands must be done. Nothing but that. And meanwhile, the state is not. It's a microcosm of the entire countries of the world. To what extent will you then now live like that? As if you live on your own. You are an island to yourself. No, you are not. You are not. In fighting global terrorism, majority of what the world linked up with you in fighting them. Now, when it comes to you, instead of you and those doing politics in America, sit down and deal with the issues of what migration, you don't. You turn around and make it sound and become somebody's problem at the end of the day, and you expect what? What do you expect now? The world has become, and we are seeing America as a bully. Another effect. Because whatever this man is doing, he does it without even considering. Could you believe?
Is America a bully?
Absolutely, as far as I'm concerned. Because
abuse of power?
Yes, because you see, they are using their financial power. Could you believe the statement he made in connection to what he said that he's taking Gaza? And he said that if the Palestinians are moved and go to Egypt and go to Jordan, he sent them to Jordan. He sent them to Jordan and he sent them to Egypt. and then he believed he can make a deal. What kind of deal is that? He brought the Jordanian king to the US. What did he do? And he's making a deal based on economics.
That's right, economics. For the people of Palestine.
Okay, so he has money, and he bought them with money. And if you buy the people with money, and now look at has the Gaza.
That meeting was inconclusive. So we cannot say that the Jordanian king.
No, the king did not accept it. In fact, when you read the commentary, he didn't accept it. But this is the key. He thinks that he can make that. And he pushed people's hands by saying that this is exactly what I'm going to do. And he's doing it. Now the Jordanian king left, even though things, and then he even gave a concession that I'm going to receive the kids. What kind of thing is that? Who is going to give you their kid and the mother stay somewhere? Excuse me. It's neither here nor there. Do you understand my point? And if the Jordanian king said that I'm going to take the kids, the Palestinian children, excuse me, I'm not going to leave my kid with you.
Well, I recall very well that I watched that meeting that transpired between Trump and the Jordanian king.
That's right.
He also said that he would do what is right in the interest of his people.
Okay.
First, I think that's where they concluded.
All right, fine.
But that meeting was inconclusive, if you ask me, though.
All right.
And I believe there are going to be, the coming days will see a lot of meetings between the United States of America and, of course, leaders from the Middle East. So as we speak, we want to see how things unfold.
Let me bore you further. I'm just still a point on that. If you are using money and you give them money and you said, I'm withdrawing that money that I've been given to you, I will draw it. So immediately you said, I'm withdrawing the money. Remember, they depend upon it. And it's part and parcel of their GDP in terms of what? Their budget allocations in every country. That money comes in. In Ghana, we will talk about it in a while. Because when we go to the US aid, recently I heard our president make a statement to that effect that we get almost about 156 million. And he was taxing at to foreseen, right? To
the finance minister.
That's right. To go into it and find a way to that gap to close the gap. How it tells you that America, excuse me to say, the world doesn't necessarily depend upon America, but in as much as we co-share in our moves and everything that we do, it is a global superpower, the only superpower of the world. And as an only superpower, it is only important for it to know and measure, I think that's the term, measure what it does and the extent to which it can go and destroy. And I think that even though he is pandering to the American, the conservatives, particularly the Republicans, he must also understand that there are institutions of the world and the institutions must be allowed to operate.
Very interesting conversation right there. I see how passionate you are when it comes to some of these issues. Obviously, the world is feeling the impact of Trump's actions. Ghana is not exempted from these actions in doing what is right for the people of America. So we want to see how this goes in the coming days. Will tell how things, actually go. The South African president has publicly condemned the actions of Mr. Trump, especially when it comes to, another issue that we are connecting to right now, which is the United States Agency for International Development. The funds that come from USAID caters for so many programs all over the world, especially in the developing countries. So African leaders or leaders from the developing countries are beginning to feel the impact of Trump's actions around the freezing of USAID or for a 90-day review.
What is the new system that you would want to create both for trade and aid, assuming that the US is doing what it's doing? What is everyone else going to need to do now?
Well, self-reliance is not only at the national level, but on the continental level. And there's good news coming out of Africa, like she said. Most countries have ratified the protocol on continental free trade in Africa. And that trade is beginning to grow steadily. We're able to export tariff-free into our countries. Of course, there are obstacles because our trade channels have been the colonial trade channels between us and Europe and not amongst ourselves. So one of the things we need to deal with first is how we develop the infrastructure to be able to exchange goods amongst ourselves. Already, most countries are allowing free movement of people. And so if we have free movement of goods and services across the continent, I think that it will fill a huge gap in South-South trade, and that will benefit all our countries.
And do you think that the actions of the Trump administration will accelerate Africans' determination to do this? Will it finally actually happen, the African Free Trade Area?
Definitely it will. Definitely we will learn to be more self-reliant as a continent and to trade more amongst ourselves, because there's a lot of room there for expanding trade.
From where you sit, do you think, again, we've already established that Trump is doing what is right for his people, the American people.
Sure.
That is the mandate he's been given. The mandate is to ensure that the taxpayers' money is being put to proper use. Therefore, he is reviewing most of the programs by way of America's foreign policy in its dealings with the rest of the world. Is this a wake-up call for developing countries?
Absolutely.
Especially African leaders?
Absolutely. 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 It's a wake-up call. Grow what you can eat what you grow. You see?
Is it that simple?
Thank you. It is. But we have not applied our heart to it. Let me do some quotations here and there and try to bring you to it. The US aid was established, in fact, it's 64 years in this year, was established in 1961 through an executive instrument of J.F. Kennedy. He was a Democratic president. So it is just unfortunate that a Republican president is trying to review what the Democratic president had done through executive order. The issue here are three. Is it retooling it, or dismantling it, or subsuming the organization, the US aid, under the State Department? Which is which? Where are we going? The lines are very blurred. It hasn't been as of now. And you said 90 days, 3 months. So here we are. If you look at the organization, in fact, as far as the American aid package is concerned, this organization has been doing marvelously since the Cold War. The Cold War was from 45, ended in 89, 90.
Has it changed the status of developing countries in any way?
It has not necessarily changed the status, but what it has done is that it has helped in running governments, in running the world affairs as it is, because it is sort of, somebody will say it is not free money per se, but it is good to have money. If somebody said your chin is burning, you say it in a Akan language here, that your chin is burning, and say you hold it, I'm going to fetch you some water to quench the fire. It's all well and good. So it is part and parcel of it. But then the American power and American dominance and American contributions to the world is through that medium, because it performs 6 major functions in industrial, safety, food security, areas of humanitarian assistance, individuals, CEOs, educational development, grooming civil society organizations, financial assistance to individuals, among others. This is how the US aid is performing. And over the years, it is believed it has over 2,100 spaces of employment. In US alone, an organization of that magnitude, and in fact it's also believed it has a budget per annum of 40 million plus per year. That tells you the weight, the power of this organization. Now, since it is the Democratic Party that by their president came with this, and they believe in institutions and how they network in the world and ensure American global dominance through not just necessarily that kind of kitty to give you, but rather to link the world and help people. In fact, it has been spoken in certain circles that 1% lives are saved when America through the US aid. And it is true. There are so many places in the world we can refer to, even in my part of the world. One of the things it does also with this anti-retro, viral thing,
HIV/AIDS,
that HIV and the others, it is into it. Africa largely do have a youthful youthful
Population.
population.
What should the government do?
Okay, let me come to that point. What governments of Africa must understand. Let me quote the paper. The Agricultural Development Group of 2017 argue forcefully about an issue of which I think is very relevant to this. They said, Africa trade with Europe 70%. Africa trade with Far East, which is those in the Far East, 50%. Amongst us, you know what we do? We trade 14.5.
Yeah.
This is deadly. The money we are looking for that we can use and channel them to the various development agendas that we do have, the money we are repatriating the money. So capital flight. The money goes to Far East. The money goes to Europe. And we are trading amongst us only 14. If Ghana can do, or Africa can do, only 20%, I think there will be a powerful move.
Transformation.
I'm telling you, on the
Economic
continent of
transformation.
Africa. And this has been the problematic area that we have seen, of which nothing had been done. So African leaders come, they are more interested in depending upon what the Americans can give, in depending upon what other donors can give. And Ghana, we have these donors, and I don't know what kind of donors are we are talking about. These are taxes of people that they've collected, and we are getting it free. What have we been doing? What as African country members are looking at, we have formed an organization, the largest free trade area, 54 countries. We need to sit and look at it and trade in. I am somebody, I must be very admissive. I'm interested in intra-trade. Because the same money that you make doing it outside, you do it among yourselves. And you get the dough, you get the money. This place, Bifaso, is dealing with tomatoes. Ghana used to have tomato factory. And probably successive government did not open their eye to it. So it collapsed. Nigeria possesses so much oil. Even we read recently that Dangote is selling oil to Saudi Arabia per his refinery.
Right.
What is actually going on? Who said that we cannot get the money here when we begin to open up ourselves and trade amongst ourselves and eliminate all the various blockade? Who said we can't do it? It has always been a problem. Now we depend upon the US aid. And now that the man is withdrawing money, because look, I don't know, you can't go to people, it was, if I'm to quote the Ashanti king, he said you can't go to people with cap in hand. And we are going to them with cap in hand. The leaders we do have in this country always talk about the issue of going to IMF, World Bank. What, these are private entities. And they want to maximize profits. That is the reason why we are having this kind of problem, because we Ghanaians have not learned, and our taste has also done it in such a way that our taste has not been good taste. We have been, I don't know whether taste or socialized in wanting to live like those in the West. And of course, we've been staying with them for over 75 years. What has happened to us? Why our leadership cannot really do what the strong men, as we're talking about in Burkina Faso, that young man is doing. Making sure that we eat what we grow and we grow what we eat. Making sure that individuals will have that opportunity.
It's about policies.
Fine, I agree with you.
It's about policies. It's about introducing the right policies that will benefit the people and the country. So, in essence, if I get you right, what you are saying is that this is a wake-up call for African leaders.
Absolutely. So to them, you said that yes, about policies. We are the same people who elected them. Ghana, we just changed government now. And we have a group of people who are in now. Have they really realized, now that I heard that the 156 million, that gap must be fixed? How are we going to fix it? Is there a way? Remember when the COVID hit, because it was all over the world, certain monies came in. I am not a politician, but I believe, like you rightly said during your introduction, that the technocrats must speak to the things. And I'm speaking to it the way I see it.
Well, let's talk about your recommendations.
Okay.
Recommendations around the closing off, you said, should I say temporarily, which is under review, what is the way forward for us? Now that we've identified the problems, can we proffer solutions to the problems?
I think so.
One or two from you
All
as
right.
we wrap up.
The first solution, I think, is that government must sit up. Of course, they've been able to cut off the number of ministers, as it were, because I have.
That's a plus.
And that is a plus in the first place. And again, in terms of the budgetary allocations, I feel that government must redraw that properly, ensuring that what goes into certain places must be looked at and not follow verbatim what the IMF is prescribing. There are so many things that the IMF is asking us to do, of which we just do. And when you do it in economic sense, it makes our economy a bottom-heavy economy. The economy is not growing. What they must do now is that if I have a document and you ask me, submit your proposal, I submit my proposal, and you punch my proposal and then later give my proposal to me, it ceases to become my proposal. It's yours now because your proposal, in a way, because you've made several widespread changes in the proposal. Africa must understand one key thing, that we have the minerals, we have the human resources. Like you rightly said, the policy. What are the policy in terms of our relationship with the donors? Do they see us as partners in the global economy? What do they see us for? Do they see us we are coming together and whatever they tell us, we swallow the line, hook and sinker? Is that it? Or
do you think we are cash cow to our development partners?
I think so, seriously, because the point is this. The way they have done it, we've become more dependent on them. If even we go out to sit with them pertaining to things, whatever they prescribe, the prescriptive approach doesn't work. And one of my solutions is elicitive approach. We are not interested in the prescriptive approach because the prescriptive approach, they don't live in this environment. Elicitive means that you need to elicit from us the argument so that we can speak to you. In fact, I'm quoting the words of a guy called Lederock in 1995. Elicitive approach is the approach we should go in the world today, not prescriptive. Because in prescriptive, you don't live in our environment. You don't understand the way the things is playing here. Why then do you prescribe? What is happening in America, what is happening in the West, is not what is happening on the continent of Africa. Therefore, it makes sense to use a elicitive approach with us. Let's talk to you. Let's tell you what is going on here. And then now you listen to us and then you obey and we go forward rather than you telling us what to do all the time. It won't work. That is the reason why it is almost like squares in round holes. It becomes very difficult. And again, our leaders, another solution, our leaders must not divorce academia. When they needed positions, when they needed whatever, they come to schools. We teach you. Now, when they get to the positions, they divorce academia. And when you divorce academia, you don't sit there. You are going out there looking for money and going and doing it. You speak to us. Don't divorce academia. Speak to us. We will tell you our peace of mind. Then you make the choices. We will present the things to you. Then you make the choices for us.
An inclusive government.
Inclusive government, so to speak, if that is the argument you are looking at. So it is imperative we look at these issues. And again, Ghanaians, this whole business of Ghanaians, our culture doesn't, we were not developed like this. In fact, let me quote Nana Se Ofori-Attah first. And I'm quoting Jechi, 1998. And he quoted Nana Se Ofori-Attah first. He said, the people without the culture are characterless.
Speaking about the illicit approach, you've
That's
spoken
right.
about the
leaders.
Inclusivity.
Absolutely. And then the cultural root is necessary. Right. We must not swallow what the West is presenting. Today, with all due respect,
best
Harriet,
practices are worth
absolutely. Of course, best practices, there are certain best practices that they have, and of which we can use, and it is perfect. The world is now happening before us clearly. We are seeing what is really happening today. Even though for those of us in academia, we keep on talking about the international system, it seems to be unjust international system. Things are not going to change unless we ourselves changes. And if we change, the things we see will change. I believe that.
All right. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you,
time. We appreciate your time.
appreciate
It
you
is
too.
always, what's the word I'm looking for? It is a lot of energy,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah.
talking to you. And this is where we wrap up on today's episode of the only show that brings you happenings in the world of diplomacy and international relations, diplomatic affairs. We interrogate the issues with the right people who educate and inform us on what we need to know when it comes to issues that are coming from all the quarters. Thank you so much for being our guest, and of course we look forward to seeing you same time next week.